Good morning, Rob.
Good morning, Michelle.
Here we have the decimal board for multiplication task cards, and I'd like for you to explain how these works. It's kind of exciting to see a material that was once used in the Montessori world many years ago and was maybe long forgotten by some, but I'd like for you to tell us a little
Absolutely.
about it.
Yeah, well said. I mean, this is a material, when I first saw this at, I think it was a conference in Nashville, I was fascinated by it because in my training it was something that I had not seen before. But in doing research on it, yeah, you're exactly right. It was a material, and for whatever reason, it stopped production, and now I'm thrilled that Allison's is producing it again. And so it is a board, so it's the decimal board for multiplication. And so certainly there are lots of things that are familiar about it. It uses the same hierarchical materials, and so it's familiar in that way. But it's also interesting, Michelle, because in teacher education courses that I've done, by far one of the sticking points for most adult learners is in the teaching of multiplication with decimals. We do it with the yellow board, which is another Montessori material, upper elementary material, for multiplication, and it's really, really clunky. The child has to go through a couple of, like, we're going to move the decimal point here, and then we're going to do it here, and then we're doing the chains, and it just doesn't call to upper elementary children who are they're thinking more abstractly, they're looking to get to the answer, and so very difficult for them you're dealing with lots of little chains, and so a lot of the adult learners are like, wow, how does that work again? And then, of course, the other material that we use often for the multiplication of decimals is the decimal checkerboard. I run into the same thing. The regular whole number checkerboard I think it's very intuitive, and children learn, and it takes them very, very quickly into doing it abstractly. The decimal checkerboard, in order to get the answer right, and we kind of want to get the answer right, there's a certain way that we have to set it up on the board, and we actually put the multiplicand in the middle of the decimal board, in some cases, and so again, it's not a very, very intuitive one, and it's fraught with error. It's very easy to make mistakes, and so along comes the decimal board for multiplication. And it's a game changer for me, because it really does very elegantly take children from the concrete, working with the material, to being able to do it abstractly. And let's face it, when the child is 11, 12 years old, there really is a stronger impetus. They want to be doing it abstractly. By that time, they understand that these materials are vehicles in order to do it abstractly. And when I say abstractly, I just mean with pencil and paper. They already know that. They know that when they were adding and subtracting decimals, they know that it's very, very similar to whole number addition. So they know that there's also like a trick to it. They know that there's an algorithm to doing multiplication. And the other materials just don't lead them the same way that this does. So the more I explored this, the more I got into and did lots and lots of problems. It was almost like an epiphany. It was like, oh, this is a material that is going to do exactly what we want it to do. It's going to hit those children right at the developmentally appropriate time. I would say the biggest thing it does is it's predicated on the child having their multiplication tables down. So another nice motivation for a child to work on this new material is like, oh, this is going to be a lot easier if I know 7 times 6 is 42, not 7 times 6 is 14. Going through that process. And so, yeah, I think it's a old material that is going to become a new material that I would expect is going to be in most every upper elementary Montessori classroom, and certainly should be in every teacher education course. The task cards themselves, it's a task card, right? It's a command card, and so we understand that the child is certainly not going to start here. They're going to start with the hands-on material, but when it gets time for them, and you've released them, they've done the problems, and there's a certain amount of facility with them, you understand that they're able to do it independently or working with a friend. It's nice to have a set of cards, and there's lots of them here, that the child, especially the child that is not like, can you write me problems? They're not quick to come up with their own problems. Well, here you can say, like, you can steer them towards something that is already there. but with a little bit more, structure around it. Like for instance, the first set, and like most of these task cards, they're the simple. We're going from the simple to the complex. This one, very, very, much the way that we would present the regular whole number checkerboard. Make me this number. So we're not doing any operation work here. Identify this number. Make this number on the board. Read this number on the board is all there. Once I've done a long series of those cards, now I'm actually going to start multiplying. And I think, as you would expect, the rest of these cards here go from, okay, times my multiplier is a 1 digit, then it's 2 digits. Now I'm introducing decimals in my multiplicand and my multiplier, and now the problems are getting bigger, bigger, and bigger, larger. I would say a nice thing about this is, again, that child that says, will you write me those problems? Who's got time to write it out in the hierarchical colors? And so a child being able to do this one, they've got the support there to understand, like, okay, this is units, this is tens, and there's hundreds. And I just love the illustrations on the back, because the illustrations isn't just the number, it's actually showing this is what it's going to look like when you've completed the work. So it's a perfect amount of independent work that they can do on their own, but still with some scaffolding there to help control that error, so that they're successful, they feel happy about it, and they're able to move on as well. So I would also say that it also comes with a full lesson plan. With that material as well. So yeah, exciting news in the world of Montessori is the headline.
Thank you so much for shedding light on this material.
Absolutely.